Hi everyone, we're going to state the domain of each composite function. That means these functions here. And here are two functions, f and g. And the first thing I want to do is state the domain of f. Here we have no fractions for f or square roots, so this is just all real numbers. And for this one, this quantity in here has to be greater than or equal to 0. So it's all real numbers, but x must be greater than or equal to 2. That's going to be important because you have to look at the inner function when you're composing it for the function. So the first thing we're going to do, and we'll see it in this number 1, we're going to do f of g. I'll just rewrite this. Sorry. F of g of x. So I'm going to write in f and g is square root of x minus 2. Then I'm going to input this into my f, so I'm going to get square root of x minus 2 squared plus 4. And basically, when you square this out, it goes away. So you get x minus 2 plus 4, which equals x plus 2. Now you would think, looking at this, that this is all real numbers. But however, since g was my inner function, I have to use the domain here, or we couldn't have dealt with this portion before we simplified. So basically, our domain is all real numbers with the restriction that our real numbers must be greater than or equal to 2. Okay, the next set is g of f. And so therefore our inner function is x squared plus 4. And remember, our inner function here, that's all real numbers, so that's going to make it easier on us. When we input this into our g, we're going to get square root of x squared plus 4 minus 2. Now this equals the square root of x squared plus 2. Now normally we would set this to greater than or equal to 0, and if you did that, you'd get x squared is greater than or equal to negative 2, and you square root both sides, you get x is greater than or equal to plus or minus square root of negative 2, which would be I square root of 2. We're not dealing with i's, so we can just put all real numbers in here. So the domain here is all real numbers. Our inner function was also all real numbers. So the domain of this one is just all real numbers. Now the next one is f of f. Well, I'm going to rewrite this as f composed with f of x. And so we're going to write this as f of x squared plus 4. And then you substitute and you get x squared plus 4 squared plus 4. Don't forget that this is really like x squared plus 4 times x squared plus 4. Make sure you FOIL that out. And then you have your tag-along guy here. So we're going to have x to the 4th plus 8x squared plus 16 plus 4, which is x to the 4th plus 8x squared plus 20. Now clearly this one is all real numbers, and my inner function was all real numbers, so the domain is also any real number. And the last one is going to be g of g. Remember, let's see, so that's going to be g of the square root of x minus 2. Recall that the domain of this is x must be greater than or equal to 2. And then we input it in again. So that's going to be a square root, the square root of x minus 2 minus 2. Now this quantity has to be greater than or equal to 0. So let's set it that way. Add the 2 to both sides. And square both sides. So you get x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 4. So x must be greater than or equal to 6. And that's the domain. And this also satisfies the fact that our original g, the x had to be greater than or equal to 2 because 6 is bigger than 2. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.